Hi, now entering the second week of the Greek of Acts. So to start off this week, we have Acts 1:6. So as is the practice, let's start by trying to pronounce these letters. And I have a video on letters and sounds if you want to learn how to pronounce it the Erasmian way, which may not be pretty, but it is kind of the standard way of pronouncing Greek, biblical Greek in American Christianity. Okay. So go ahead and give it a shot. And now it's my turn. So here we go. Hoi men un, sun elfantes, eroton, auton, legontes, kuria, en to, chrono, tuto, apokanthistanes, let me do that again, apokathistanes, tain, Basileon to Israel. Okay, so you can see we have a couple capital letters in this particular verse, actually three. The Omicron here, the Kappa here, and the Iota here. Thankfully for us, they look just like the lowercase letters, only bigger, so it shouldn't have been a problem. So now see if you can translate it if you've had Greek before, and then we'll dig a little deeper in a second. Okay, here's the translation. So these two, men and un, are postpositives. They never come when they're supposed to. And so we're going to translate these two first, even though they're second and third. So un means therefore, a very important Greek word to learn. One of the first you should learn as far as interpretation. When you see a therefore, ask what it's there for. Men implies usually a contrast on the one hand, on the other. So we can take those out. Therefore, on the one hand, and so the hoi goes with sunelthontes. Greek can interrupt the word the and the noun and the word it goes with. This isn't a noun. This is a participle. I know because my aunt is an active participle. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me give you the translation. Therefore, on the one hand, the having come together ones, they were asking him, saying, quote, Lord, if in this time you are restoring the kingdom to Israel. Okay, how'd you do? Therefore, on the one hand, the having come together ones, they were asking him, saying, quote, Lord, if in the time you are restoring the kingdom to Israel. Question mark. By the way, the semicolon is a question mark in Greek. Okay, let me go to the next slide to go into more detail. So here is our interlinear. Let me get it there. Okay, our interlinear. So I've already told you this, got a little ahead of myself. On the one hand, therefore, having come together ones. This is a participle, it's called. Normally an ing word, but in Greek, participles are much more complicated than just ing. Greek is a participle-loving language, they say. And the most complicated language for participles that I know of, although, you know, there may be another one hiding out there somewhere. So the hoi goes with sunelthontes. This ending, s, goes with oi. It is a masculine nominative plural ending. There's a song I have, arkonanta, santianta, antes, Antonusiantas. So this is a nominative plural masculine ending. And this is a nominative plural that you would learn fairly early on in Greek, oi. I have a song for that too. My aunt is an active participle. That's my cliche that helps me remember that this is a participle. So it's a active participle, nominative masculine plural. What tense is it? Well, it's the stem that tells me the tense. And here, elf is just something you have to memorize. Somewhere in the middle of Greek, you'll memorize that elf is the aorist stem of to come or to go. And so I take it's an aorist active participle, nominative masculine plural, and the word it's from is soon erchomai. I just have memorized that erchomai goes with elf. Again, maybe I'll make a video on the second aorist. It's called the irregular aorist. So the way you translate it is, start out with the ing translation, the having come together ones, and then I'll show you on the next slide how we can kind of smooth that out into the ones who had come together. Okay, they were asking him, saying, quote, Lord, if in this time, okay, so erotone here is, we'll do the parsing on the next page. Maybe I'll just leave it till that, but it is a imperfect verb, third person plural. They were asking. I'll come to the parsing on the next slide. They were asking him, a personal pronoun, saying, here's another participle. My aunt is an active participle, ONT. My aunt is an active participle, ONT. This is also not masculine nominative plural, just like the S was here. But leg is a present stem. And so this is a present active participle, nominative masculine plural. And you can just leave it saying. That works pretty well. The capital letter here indicates that it's a direct quote. That's where I get the quotation marks. Now, of course, the original Greek was all in capital letters, but many Greek New Testaments today that you buy will capitalize a quote. Again, they're doing that to help you out. It wasn't in the original. So Lord, this is vocative. Vocative is the case of address. When I say Lord, and I address the Lord, you would have a eh. You might also remember this from Kyrie eleison on the road that I must travel. Lord, have mercy on me. So Lord. Okay, if, this introduces a conditional clause. If in the time this, tuto is a demonstrative pronoun, a this or a that pronoun. Chronos is chronological time. At at 5 o'clock, it's that kind of time. Lord, if in this time you are restoring the kingdom to Israel, question mark. It's not good English. It's fine Greek. It's not good English, so it's usually not translated exactly literally. It's usually translated, Lord, are you now going to restore the kingdom to Israel? Or Lord, will you now restore the kingdom to Israel? That's the way it's usually translated. But in the Greek, you can see that there's a nice little conditional expression there. Okay, there's our interlinear. So let's go for the gold with the parsing. Like I said, there's a direct quote here. The capital letter tells me that we have direct discourse going on here. I've already gone through the parsing of sunel thontes. Here's the word it's from, sun urkamai. The sun is the same. This is called a compound verb. It has a preposition on the front and then kind of the root word. So the preposition stays the same. You know, soon means with or together. That's where the together part of the translation comes from. But the word is urkamai. Urkamai is thoroughly irregular. Come and go verbs in most languages are irregular because they're so old. And so the irk becomes an elf. Don't ask why. It's just a matter of memorization. Okay, now as far as the translation, I often talk about a three steps to translate a participle. First is to get the ing form in mind, and we said that since it's aorist active, we would say having come together. But the second step is we ask, does it have the article or not? And the article is the word the, and in fact it does have the word the on it. It's separated by a couple words, but the is on it. Greek does that. And so it has the article, so that means it's an adjectival participle. That means it's talking about someone. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't tell us who the someone is. So we would have liked it to say, the having come together people, or something like that. The having come together disciples, that would be nice, because it is talking about the disciples. In fact, we call this a substantive use of the adjective, because there's no substance there. The participle has to come up with the substance. And so we say, the having come together people, or the having come together ones. But we have to come up with it. It's not there. That's why I put ones in brackets here, because we have to come up with it. It's the meaning, but it's not explicit. So I'm going to use who. The ones who having come together. That's awkward. We need to go to a step 3. We have a past participle, aorist. We have a past verb, erotone is imperfect, which is a past tense. Past had. And so we would say something like the ones who had come together. And then we've got a nice little English expressions. The ones who had come together were asking him. Those who had come together were asking him. We have to kind of play with it. We have to trust the force, Luke, and feel, where the participle is going. Erotone is imperfect. It is active. It is indicative, third plural, from erotao. What has happened? This doesn't look exactly the same. You can do a little CSI and see the rho is the same, the omega is the same, the tau is the same, but there's a lot of difference between these two. What's happened? Well, first of all, the imperfect indicative is a past tense, which takes an augment. And when you have a vowel on the front, we augment by lengthening. And so an eta is a long epsilon. That's what happened here. Because it's imperfect, the epsilon went long. And then this is called a contract verb because its stem ends in a vowel. And so the ending that is crashed here, we've had a crash. We've got tape. It's a crime scene. So the song for the imperfect active goes like this: on s e amen eta on, or something else. So on omicron nu is the normal ending for the third person plural. So this alpha has crashed into an omicron nu. There are rules for crashes. When an alpha and an omicron crash, the omicron wins and becomes a long omicron, which is not an omicron, it's an omega. And so this omega is the crash of this alpha with an omicron ending, and then the nu of the ending sticks around. So that's where that erotone came from. It is perfectly predictable, and it means they were asking. It might be a little bit of an inceptive imperfect. They began to ask. That's one of the intermediate possibilities for the imperfect tense. Those who had gathered together began to ask him, saying, Lord, at this time are you restoring the kingdom to Israel? Now this monstrosity of a word, apokathistanes, a second person singular, I see that, ace, it's indicative, it's present active. It's a little weird in the word it's from, apokathistemi, it's a me verb, but anyway, even though its dictionary form is potentially annoying, this ace ending is something that you learn maybe even your first week of taking Greek. Intermediate functions, this may actually be a futuristic present. Will you now restore the kingdom to Israel? Because they don't mean, are you now restoring as in right this moment? I mean, it's something that's going to have to require some future action. And so we might actually call this a futuristic present. It can happen. Intermediate Greek, we find out that there are a lot more possibilities and nuances to these things that you learn than you learn in the first year of Greek. Well, there you have it. Quite a lot to dig into today in Acts 1:6. So thank you for joining us.